from our side. But I think overall, I think it's shocking to look at 6 out of 39, but very sadly, it's a replication, Chairman, of what we've seen in other places that we have gone, that the municipalities are almost paralyzed to a stage that they are not unoperational. Then you ask yourself really that the home bodies that are behind these municipalities, what are they doing day to day to have such a shocking results? And it seems a lot of municipalities think it's just motions to get the AG's report, because the AG report year in, year out, and there's no response. But Chair, for now, really, this is my question. I'm really concerned, which is not surprising if you look at the pattern by the only 6 out of 39, with all these things which I'm not going to release now, interventions at all sorts of levels, SALGA, the province, the AG, and yet it continues. Now I see what they said, that the Eastern Cape is really totally broken. Thank you.
Dolo?
No, thank you, Chair. No, Chair, for me it's just a comment and an appeal that actually in future, I think we spoke about this thing of reports, that they should come to us in advance, so as they will enable us to prepare for questions. So this thing of getting reports for the first time here, while we are here, is not acceptable, Chair. So we request in future, if actually our support staff are having difficulties of obtaining reports, they must indicate to the Chair, so the Chair will be able to intervene in making follow-ups about reports. Because coming to the meeting unprepared is not okay. Finding critical reports for the first time in the meeting, that won't be able to assist us in terms of scrutinizing those reports and making follow-ups. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Before we go to Honourable Ndamase, I will then allow the province to respond to
unqualified. Now, if you remember in our presentation, we wanted to focus on these disclaimed and qualified ones to push them out from that negative band to at least unqualified. Whilst we also work on those that are unqualified and push them over to a clean audit outcome. So that's the strategy we are currently implementing, that we don't want anything between disclaimer, adverse, and qualified. We would want to push everyone at least to unqualified. Then we can work on clean audit outcomes. So that's the case. On the Ngubaya Temba road network, unfortunately, that road is a national road running through Ngubaya Temba. Now, surcharges are quite outside the jurisdiction of the local because the road is a national road, but it has got then challenges of infrastructure maintenance by the local because of heavy-duty vehicles that are passing through that. So that's an issue that is confronting that, but we have now, through the provincial government, established a weigh bridge where those trucks that are passing through have to be weighed and charged for having a negative impact into that particular road. On the state of the economy, I think the MEC for Treasury has just not responded to that. But if you look at the economy, we are a rural economy province with the auto sector, especially in highly industrialized areas of Buffalo City and Nelson Mandela Metro. And the past labor force surveys have indicated somewhat consistent improvement in employment rate. I think the last quarterly survey said we have appointed about 80,000 employees, and that is from the construction sector, trade, and the agricultural sector, because those are the main anchors of our economy. But the challenges of the 30% will be impacting negatively into both Nelson Mandela and Buffalo City municipalities. And worse now, the Coca-Cola issue, where there is imminent retrenchment of more than 600 people, may also contribute to that. And Ford in Nelson Mandela, especially in the Kariga area, those challenges can impact negatively because we are not highly diversified in the Eastern Cape. The auto sector is still the prime, whilst there are huge strides being made in the oceans economy and actually improving the agricultural sector. And the area we're in, Emampondweni, has got huge land that has good potential for agricultural advancement. And so the provincial government is working on strategies to try and develop in terms of agriculture. But it is critical to note that the objections, especially in this area, against your fuel that we are trying to explore, gas, in terms of all the environmentalists that are oppositionist against us in respect of that, that just gives us, even mining, even the N2 was challenged, which is actually an important and critical economic network for the province. So you're dealing with those issues in the Eastern Cape, but working together with traditional leaders and communities, I think we can overcome those things and allow the economy to grow. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honorable members, are you answered?
There is question in terms of racial ownership of the economy in the province. Who controls the economy? The white
Yeah, MEC, can you please respond to that? Although some of the questions may be related to the lawmakers, if it's beyond your control as the province, you can just leave with that one. But the one that is directly to the province, you can respond.
No, I think it will be a misnomer that Eastern Cape, as a province that has been a labor sending or labor reservoir, would all of a sudden have patterns that are different with the national patterns of the economy. So it is obvious that the patterns is that the whites still owns major economic sectors. So it's not different. Thank you very much.
Thank you, MEC. And I believe maybe on the issue of equitable share, remember there was a letter that was circulating earlier before the municipality could get their equitable share. It was a letter from Treasury, from the minister, whereby they were indicating that they are going to withhold the equitable share of some municipalities on the basis that they owe third parties, they owe like third parties such as your pension fund, the water board, and the electricity. So maybe it's one of the things that as you will respond to the second round, maybe you can take us along as to who were those municipalities in your province and how did you resolve the matter. And I will now allow Honorable Ndamase.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'm also very much interested in the economic side of local governance. And I hope Honorable MEC Mvogo is going to take the challenge. If we look at the logistics nightmare as caused by the municipalities, we may not blame it on geography. We can directly blame it on the municipalities, especially the two, Nelson Mandela and BCM. My first question would be, if we look at the presentation from Treasury, that is attributing to these two municipalities, to the two metros, that they are the biggest culprits in relation to UIF. Now, my question is, to what extent are they also by that biggest culprits in relation to disinvestment? That's one. Then the second one is, to what extent, Treasury, do you see this deviation on transaction as a mask for malfeasance? Both COGTA and Treasury, can they respond to that? Because there is no way that you can have deviate every day. Then, looking at the RDP standard, MEC Williams, I would like you to hear this, MEC Williams. There is this thing called RDP standards in terms of water provisioning. Can you give me at least 10 municipalities out of the 39 that are providing what is contained in terms of the law, where you must access a tap within a radius of 200 meters? I may bring in specifics in relation to this, but you can give me examples, at least if you have 10 municipalities out of 39 that are doing that. Then the changing of financial systems, treasury. What is that? What is that in relation to enterprise resource planning, in relation to the migration into the ERP? When a municipality can change the financial systems and get into a platform that is very foreign. When you talk SAP, we usually talk Oracle. And then it's from SAP and something else. What does that mean exactly? Then the loss of grant funding. Can't we treat it as treason? When we look at the time value of money, political stability versus non-provision of water by Water Services Authority. What are you saying exactly, Treasurer? Can you say it's stable, politically, Nelson Mandela is stable, BCM, while you are saying they are not doing ABC? You are saying Chris Hani is stable and other municipalities. Can you expatiate on that? Not unless we must get into the conjugation of verbs and tell each other what actually means to say something is stable. Then the last one. What happened, Honorable MEC Williams, to your Operation Clean Audit? Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Van Zyl.
Thank you, Chair. Just very quickly on the unfunded budgets issue, I know like SRVM, Walter Sisulu, where I stay, continue to operate with unfunded budgets. That is in contravention of the MFMA. What is the department, COGTA and Treasury doing to maybe invoke Section 139.5, or are all of those under Section 139.5? Then I'm talking about FW expenditures with, again, Walter Sisulu at 27 million, Amatola at 412 million, SRVM 408 million rand written off. What disciplinary or criminal actions have been taken against accounting officers? Because obviously that is also not the norm. We should not be striving to have those astronomical amounts on irregular expenditures. Then on, in your reports across almost all municipalities, it mentions lack of consequence management. Why has COGTA not taken steps under Section 106 of the Municipal Systems Act to investigate and sanction these maladministrations in these municipalities that is failing to deliver to the residents? Then the MEC said, and I'm going to quote, he said, municipalities continue to suffer from money being owed by residents and businesses. MEC, I'd like to know from you, perhaps, if you can explain to us, in all of those municipalities, if the billing is correct, the billing by the municipalities, because you would find there's disputes, and that's why municipalities aren't getting the money from residents. So it's a very blanket statement to make. And then again, also on your indigent registers, are your indigent registers of all the municipalities up to date? Because that also is a massive contributing factor to the fact that businesses or residents do not come to the table in paying for their services. Then you spoke, MEC, also about poor performing municipalities, and it was SRVM and it was Walter Sisulu, etc., etc. They are there. Can you tell us which of these municipalities in the last 3 years has taken overseas trips? Because let me tell you, the Eastern Cape is very known for sending mayors and MMs and the like on overseas trips. Disclaimed municipalities, adverse municipalities, which of them in the last 3 years has sent people overseas? Then it was mentioned NMB, I forgot it was a very quick presentation which we didn't have, but NMB, there's about 500 million rand, I did a quick summary, in unspent grants that was returned. This is potholes that remains, this is infrastructure that is leaking, this is broken infrastructure that remains, and money is sent back to Treasury. And I remember someone saying that this is subject to a rollover. With the chaos with the MM at the moment, that rollover will not be approved. So what consequence management really is there for politicians essentially not spending their grants that directly relates to service delivery in the province? Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Labuskaghni.
Thank you very much, Chair. I just want to say I'm Kathy Labuskaghni. I'm part of the committee. I wasn't here when the introduction took place. I want to go to what was said on political instability and on trying to prevent municipalities to fail. And there was a reference to, we do not do Section 139 because we refer to Section 154 as an intervention. According to my knowledge and the way I understand it, and this is something that we are picking up in a lot of provinces, is Section 154 of the Constitution is actually the reason why the EU as a department of COGTA on a provincial level exists, and there is a department on national level, because that's your mandate. That's what you have to do. It's not an intervention. It's a function. It's a mandate. So based on that, I want to know, given the coalition instability and the examples that you've mentioned here, like Omatola and Makana, there's a continuous crippling of service delivery. So what exactly is it that the department is doing to make sure that there's consequence management in municipalities that are not doing what they're supposed to do? And why are you not using Section 139, B or 5, as a prevention tool to prevent further service delivery, further failure of service delivery? Because only, I think, 3 out of the 9 dysfunctional municipalities has been mentioned is under Section 139. So if you can just give us a little bit info on that. Then the AG report of 2023-24 shows that only 16% of the Eastern Cape municipalities achieved clean audits. And somebody mentioned it was 6 out of 39, with the rest plagued by still irregular, fruitless and wasteful expenditure. What has the department from your side did to make sure that there's an audit improvement plan? It was mentioned in the presentation that there's a plan to train impact. I would like to know what is the time frame. When will all the impacts be trained so that they can function? Because a plan doesn't mean will they be fully function so that the next audit report looks different. And the same with capacitating the disciplinary boards. You've also mentioned that you're going to train and support them, but how and when and will that have an effect on changing? Then 7 of the municipalities is part of the municipal debt relief program, yet 4 remain non-compliant with current account payments. What enforcement steps is COGTA taking against those that continue to default, and why are they still benefiting from debt write-offs while they are not paying ESCOM, while they are not serving their current accounts? And then you state that the department monitor municipalities quarterly, but still unfunded mandates and non-compliance is escalating. What does the COGTA have to escalate? Is there an escalating mechanism to motivate these municipalities, or to sort of, I don't want to say straff them, but what does the department really do? What is the plan to say, this is what you're going to get and this is how we're going to help you? Otherwise, it's, like the other colleagues said, we have all these plans, but there's no proof of success. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I give to the members of legislature, I also have some few questions. As the MEC was presenting, he spoke about the municipal debt on COGTA. And can you please take us along on how much does the provincial government and national government owes the municipality? And is there a plan in place to pay those debt to municipalities? You also spoke about the unbundling of UIFW. Can you please also take us along in terms of the process that you have started and how far are you in terms of unbundling those expenditures? And there's an issue about the qualified personnel in our municipalities. Looking at the nature of the province, whereby you have some rural municipalities, and we know that in terms of the salary scale, it's not the same as the urban municipalities, to a point whereby in other municipalities, when you are trying to attract the qualified personnel, they don't want to come to those municipalities because, number one, they are rural. Secondly, the salary scale also, the level of salary is not what they are expecting. So how do you attract qualified personnel to some semi and rural municipalities? And on the report presentation by Treasury, the Treasury have boldly indicated that they have 7 municipalities that have adopted unfunded budget. Then it raised the question to us if when you have those municipalities that have adopted unfunded budget, what was the role of Treasury? What have you done so far in terms of assisting those municipalities? And lastly, Chair, it's on the municipalities that are not spending their funds fully. While we know that your province is one of the provinces that is having serious challenges in terms of infrastructure, we have issues where the children are suffering when they go to schools because there are no bridges, and when there are floods, they can't go because the infrastructure is poor. But yet you are not fully spending your funds, and the funds are going back to the National Treasury. What were the reasons behind that, and how are you planning to resolve the matter? Those are my questions. I will now allow the provincial government to respond to the questions that have been raised by myself, together with my colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. Sorry, we're just conferring about one of the questions asked here. Look, maybe one would start on the very last question of non-expenditure. If we captured it correctly, it means the question is, what are we doing about non-expenditure? We normally have joint visits to all municipalities. Let me start there, between COGTA and Treasury. And those joint visits are visits where each municipality will display their performance, and they would then explain how do we get into that situation. And these are quarterly visits. Now, COGTA has got a strategy that instead of the targets used by each and every department on grants, they've developed their own. Maybe the MEC will talk on the risk-adjusted strategy. That's why he was able to say there are areas where we have spent 100%. So I think this is what is done would be responded to on the risk-adjusted strategy, because for the first time midway we did not lose anything on MIG. It was because of that strategy. So he will talk to that. The stability, let me then go to the question by Honorable Ndamase. In no way would we say that the two metros are stable. And it would be be amiss of us to say the two metros are stable. They are not. And I think in the presentation, even the presenter had reflected on that. Not only on financial performance, in all respects, they are not stable. If we had to give you an account of all the things, because now we're going to embark on our quarterly meetings with municipality, where we reflect their collection, their payment, their percentage on cost of employees. We are going to embark on that. We do that quarterly as Treasury together with COGTA. And it is so your observation, in fact, let me say they are not stable. Irrespective of the fact that Nelson Mandela has a coalition, PCM does not, both municipalities are not stable. Well, on the disinvestment, look, this is a very difficult one. Let me say that. It's a difficult one because most of the investment in the province is driven from provincial government. If you talk about Nelson Mandela, you will talk about COGTA as the driver of investment in that area. The same goes for PCM. You will talk about the East London ITZ as a driver of investment. And then you will, at the center of it, you will place ECTC, because how we attract investment in the province is we even go to the missions and make presentations, and the two East London ITZs, two ITZs are the biggest contributor in terms of investment in the province. So when we have challenges, in fact, from the municipal side, the biggest problem that we always raise with them is their agility to respond to needs and demands of investors. And we raise it with them. That is the biggest challenge. This week there was NAMSA, and some of them were raising that. So it's the ability and the agility and how quick they respond. Some of the, I remember in Buffalo City, I had made an example with them. They take so long just to respond to a simple thing, such that an investor will have to come and complain to the province, and then they will move when the province intervenes. So that I'm trying to give you that. But the deviations are a mask. Well, maybe I'll give that to the MEC for COGTA. But I'm tempted to agree with you. Because why would you not follow process? If you're not following process, you are, to me, you are up to mischief. But I'll leave that to the MEC for COGTA to talk to it. But I would say, to a larger extent, I agree with you. If any municipality is not following process and is using deviations for everything, there's something wrong with that municipality. On the changing of financial statements, of systems, I think you would know, honorable members, that at some point municipalities were all required to acquire systems and systems that would be SCOA compliant, precisely because your reporting to National Treasury must be credible and can be easily harvested. And there are quite a number of municipalities that were not SCOA compliant, even though the period had long gone. Because some acquired systems that, I remember, I think it was Amatole acquired a system that was not talking to, and we had to really force it to acquire that system, because some municipalities would like to hold on to their systems that are not even SCOA compliant. So that's the reason why you will have municipalities now acquiring new systems now, because if they are SCOA compliant, we will sit on their case to say, no, you can't continue with this system. So that's where it comes from. It's true that on the billing disputes, someone's talking about the billing disputes. It's true that there are challenges on billing, and though the departments are not taking them as they come and questioning them, the biggest problem that we have currently with the departments, let me start there, is that they allow these bills to accumulate without questioning them. Then when they are under pressure to pay, they start wanting to verify each and every bill. This is a problem I have with departments, and I would always indicate as such, that as much as the bills from municipalities might not be credible, but the time you take in paying these bills brings to us that challenge, because they let them accumulate over, a long period under pressure. Then they start now trying to verify the bills. And yeah, we have set up in Treasury, the HOT has set up a committee to look at these bills that come from municipalities for the departments, and to try and talk to departments. I must say, to not great success, but we are going. It's a go-slow situation from Treasury, because it's a matter where we have to listen to them and bring them together and verify. But it's not a very easy job. But we continue with it. We are not. We're not discouraged despite that. There are municipalities. I thought I would get those municipalities. Somebody raised about the municipalities that received letter from Treasury in terms of third-party municipalities. I thought I was going to have them now, but I know that many of them were in Sarah Partman, those municipalities. But and I know also that once it was, they all received their equitable share. Makana, Dr. Bears, Nodie, Sunday's River. Some have settled the debt, some have entered into arrangements. And as a result of that, their equitable share was not withheld. On the training of the DC board, yes, it's a process that Treasury embarked on to train DC boards and MPECs. This was a result of the challenges that we see on the non-functional DC boards, that in many, because some of these things must end in your DC board and your MPECs. And when your MPECs and your DC boards are dysfunctional, which is what Treasury found out, then they rolled out a training program to all municipalities on the training of the DC boards and the MPECs. If anything, all those that I did not respond to, I have someone to respond to everything in Ishile. I'll come back to anything that I might have slipped to answer. Thank you.
MEC?
Thank you very much, Chair. On the RDP standards that was asked, those municipalities, the 10 of them, I think, if you look at how the municipalities are set up in the Eastern Cape in terms of access to water, in terms of RDP standard, you'll see those that are not inclusive of rural areas easily meet the RDP standard for access. If you look at Ngubaye Temba municipality, Sunday's River, COGTA, Kokama, Blue Crane, Walter Sisulu, Ndlambe, Nelson Mandela, Beyers Nodie, all those municipalities are more locally set up without a rural area that is included in those municipalities, except for farms in areas like Walter Sisulu, but farms that do not require access to water that is delivered in the setup of those cities. So you'll find that, but in more rural ones, your Emalahleni, Senqu, Elundini, you'll find out the access is a challenge because they've got that rural setup where we are not yet achieving the old RDP standard of 100 meters for access to water. Operation Clean Audit, we now do not implement Operation Clean Audit as you used to understand in the olden days. What we have now is our own team from COGTA, as we have indicated, working with Treasury to deal with matters of audit outcomes in all municipalities. That's the team where we directly participate as MECs to hold those municipalities directly accountable in terms of improving audit outcomes and consequence management implementation. And linked to consequence management is about 106 investigations. We've implemented a lot of 106 investigations where there are allegations of wrongdoing or councils not taking decisions when they should and all that. And so we are implementing Section 106 investigations to investigate whether it's malfeasance or poor service delivery to communities. Billing, the correctness of billing systems. We have heard lots of complaints in Buffalo City about wrong billing systems. And we are working with Buffalo City to resolve this problem of accurate billing. But I must admit that sometimes the wrong billing is used as an excuse for not paying services. Because in a majority of cases, municipalities use their own revenue bylaws and policies to implement credit control. Now, if you as a consumer are not paying your account consistently to the extent that your account has accumulated so much debt, the municipality are empowered to transfer some of that into docking your electricity purchases, where if you buy electricity, a certain amount is docked to repay the outstanding debt. You will then hear a lot of consumers complaining that the electricity that I am purchasing is quite limited. But if you follow through, you would find out that there's a challenge in respect of this consumer not paying his or her account diligently. In fact, my understanding is that municipal accounts are always looked into by consumers, the last ones to be paid. And that's why some of our municipalities get confronted with challenges of this huge debt, as we can see in the Eastern Cape, that it has accumulated to 42 billion. And government departments that are involved in owing municipalities, the health department, Department of Education, and the Department of Public Works. Now, what we have created with Treasury is a setup where on a monthly basis, we coordinate sittings between Treasury, COGTA, municipalities affected and those departments to deal with the payment of debt by those departments. So we have a way of dealing with that, but it's always recurring. But we somewhat struggle with national department because some departments that are in our province have got are more national than provincial, and we struggle in those settings. But there's that mechanism that we use to ensure that the debt is paid to municipalities. On the issue of overseas trips by municipalities that are affected, I think Buffalo City did have an overseas trip to China, Amatole to Brazil, and Nelson Mandela municipality. Those are the municipalities that I can report on. On the issue of Section 139 intervention, I think I've responded to this question. If you look at the history of 139 interventions, most of them have actually resulted in the problem festering more in municipalities. So our own approach as the Eastern Cape is to say we want to be in municipalities as a matter of our work, as the Honourable Member says, as a matter of our daily responsibility to support municipalities, to prevent them from falling into the Section 139C intervention. So it makes sense for us that in order to make municipalities work better, we must then use Section 154 to be part of those municipalities and improve how they work, being part in partnership with those councils, but also assertively ensuring that accountability mechanisms, systems descriptions, and everything that has to be done to build a municipality that can work better and perform better is done with us hand-holding them, those municipalities, to do the job.
As you wrap up, MEC?
Yes, almost there, Chair. MPECs are trained. The challenge that we are confronting is that you train MPECs, they get reshuffled, or new people are elected into chairing those committees, and then you'll have to retrain again. So it's a revolving door that we normally confront, and so we have to deal with this MPEC training. On indigent registers, not all of them are updated. But now we're becoming more creative, that we're using the data from SASSA to integrate with our indigent register so that we are able to track a person from the SASSA database to our own for benefit in terms of indigent registers. I think on consequence management, we have indicated that few MMs have been suspended through our own direct intervention because of inability to perform as expected and lack of accountability. If you look at Sunday's River, Koukama, and Kumkani Mhlonto municipalities, we've been there. We've looked at the situation. We're currently investigating, and so we're taking steps to try and ensure that those municipalities perform better and as expected by the communities. I think, Chair, it was your question on UIFW. What we have done, Chair, is that the bulk of our irregular expenditure rests with the metros. I think Buffalo City and Nelson Mandela share about 30 billion of that irregular expenditure, with Nelson Mandela holding about 22 billion. Now, those then have to be dealt with because they are what MS Mvoko was talking about. There are evergreen contracts that have to be cleared in Nelson Mandela, which are linked to the 22 billion. Buffalo City, 10 billion. Now, somewhat there's intransigence and resistance towards dealing with these evergreen contracts. And as COGTA, both national and provincial, we've now dedicated a team. We've got 11 already in Buffalo City. 2 of them are already here. We've deployed officials to go and focus on unbundling this 10 billion of Buffalo City. Now in October, mid-October, we're going to Nelson Mandela to deploy officials there, 11 of them, to deal with that irregular expenditure amounting to 22 billion. Because as far as we're concerned, nothing is happening in respect of that. And that is just perpetuating. And at a certain point, we need to stop that. With smaller municipalities, that's where we've already unbundled it. All the 39 municipalities, we've got about 6 where we've identified what caused this irregular expenditure. It must be reported to Council by MPEC. Council, because there was no nefarious intention or malfeasance, Council can adopt it. So we're working with Provincial Treasury to clear those and assist municipalities to clear those 6 in order to do away with that irregular that affects the 6. But the big ones, we've got this target of the deployed teams that have to work on those. The last one is the issue of attracting personnel to rural municipalities. It is a serious challenge, I must indicate. Those municipalities are becoming training institutions because of the requirements of the law and the restrictions that have been placed on appointment of senior managers. There are municipalities that, like your Makana, for instance, we've just appointed an engineer. Engineer has left out of Makana to other areas, but the demand and the need is in Makana. So I've appointed effectively 2 months engineer, he's gone, we are back to square one, services are collapsing and all that. So it's a real problem, this issue of restrictions to appointment and the salary package. Although there's some layer that is allowed in terms of the law, but we must apply to the national minister to allow a little bit of allowance for rural, but that allowance seems not to be attracting people with requisite skills to be appointed in those municipalities. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, MEC. We're only giving you, is it for follow-ups? 30 seconds each. Is it on? No. It's not.
Now? Yes, okay. I think there's many more overseas trips, MEC, let's be honest. So I think if we can maybe, well, it's twofold. How do you, MEC, justify when you've heard that people have gone to China, people have gone to Brazil, whatever the case may be, when services are collapsing? That's the first thing. I'd like your comment on that. What do you then do as MEC of COGTA, knowing that services are collapsing and people are enjoying overseas? Then, Chairperson, if we can maybe just get from the Department of COGTA a list of municipalities, disclaimers, as well as adverse opinions, that has in the last 3 years taken overseas trips? Who's gone on that overseas trips? What's the reason for that overseas trips, and what was the cost to the taxpayer when services are collapsing? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. On the issue, MEC Williams, of 200 meters, the radius, can you give us a breakdown in relation to the pre-1994 and post-1994? Because I will have an issue if you only reach the radius in all the towns, so that we're able to see the transformation agenda if it is really achieved. Then the last one, on the issue of stability, Honorable Mvogo, I would think you must do that balancing, because the presenter there was saying it in no uncertain terms, that there is political stability in BCM, there is political stability in Nelson Mandela, there is political stability in Chrisan. And she would go further to say they are not providing what they are supposed to provide for. That will have to be worked out and correct the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. MEC, 3 minutes for all the questions.
No, thank you. I think we'll correct that, because the two statements are contradictory, Honorable Faku. So we'll correct that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Chair, my task is not to say there are no municipalities that have undertaken trips that are disclaimed and so on, to be defensive about that. That's not, I was just identifying those that you said meet your criteria. And on top of my head, I could see Buffalo and all the 3 I have mentioned. Others, like your Amahlati, I know they've got a German partnership, but that one is, they are not footing the bill. Only the German municipality foots the bill for Amahlati. So those, they interact with the MEC and the Premier. In fact, that's the approach of the Eastern Cape. They interact before they leave but you'll find Amahlati is an unqualified municipality. But I'm saying, Chair, if there are others, then we can deal with that. On Honorable Ndamasa's question, we can provide that information on RTP standards. Thank you.
Thank you, MEC. If possible, can you please provide us with a list of all those municipalities and the reason for their trips in writing? Thank you. I will now go to the members from the legislature. Do you have questions? Okay. I will start with the acting speaker, to be followed by Honorable Matiwani and Honorable Pretorius. Am I right? Oh, Honorable Key. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no, thanks very much, the Chair of the session. For me, Chair, I'm just worried that the Honorable Member is not here because there is a very important question that he has raised, which I think if he might have raised it in the context of the core mandate of the Portfolio Committee on COGTA, we might have gone somewhere. Because when he spoke about the economics, I would have thought that probably flowing from the core business of the Portfolio Committee, the question would be, I would expect whether there was an analysis that was done in terms of the problem of non-payment. Because if that analysis will actually go to the economics of probably the province or the municipality. Then we get an answer that might actually tell us why National Treasury will have put aside this amount of money for the indigent, because indigent is not necessarily free, it's budgeted by the National Treasury, it's the money that is being paid. So it's a bill that is not here. I just wanted to make that comment.
Chair, I've just reviewed my question. I'll leave it as a comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. In the province, with most municipalities, I would just like to find out, in terms of skills audit, when last did municipalities conduct skills audit? And with the Municipal Development Board, especially when we look at Buffalo City Municipal Development Board, just wanted to find out how are the relationship of municipal boards with municipalities, considering when we look at the economic development of municipalities for income generation, these municipal development boards were supposed to assist them in that regard. If you consider municipal development boards, especially in the two metros, are they actually functioning? Are they effective in doing the job they're supposed to be doing?
Thank you. Honorable Matuani, we're not going to give another round for comment. Okay, thank you. Mrs.
Thank you very much, Chair. I think on the development boards, actually it's on the entities themselves. The entities that we have, they vary from one municipality to the other in terms of performance. To a greater extent, your entities in the metros have been performing. There might be issues about relationships that you've had, but your entities that you've had in the metros have been performing. I know that maybe it's one what would sway us would be the publicity and all of that, but they have been. It is true that in the other smaller municipalities and districts, they have been dependent on the municipality themselves, precisely because their own existence depends on how much will be allocated to them during the budget time. Maybe I was saying to the MEC, a full investigation and analysis of that should be done to establish, particularly in what you have on your smaller municipalities, because your entities of municipalities should, like just what I spoke about earlier, should talk to what the municipality is doing in terms of mandate, the systems, and all of that. It should talk to the municipality, and for this period that we have known, they have been performing. Even the Nelson Mandela entities have been performing. On the Nelson Mandela, I just forgot to say with the question that was asked by Honorable Ndamase. Nelson Mandela is still not SCOA compliant in terms of their system. I think I forgot to raise that. They are still not SCOA compliant. And if any request would want to make is what was raised by Honorable Williams. Assistance on the payment by national departments. It's a huge task. I have seen now that the municipalities are beginning to switch off, and it's going to be disastrous. Thank you.
Yeah, I think mine was just the skills audit. The skills audit in terms of the law is an annualized event where it's updated annually, because you determine your skills base and have your skills audit report. Annually, you have to update as new entries into the municipality are coming in, and natural attrition is also confronting you as a municipality. So it's a continuous process. So municipalities know exactly what skills base they have as we speak today. The issue is whether are we then implementing skills training out of that process of skills audit? It's a different case, that one. Thank you.
Thank you, MEC. Let me also take this opportunity to thank you for your presentation on behalf of the provincial government, and issues that have been raised mostly is an issue of intervention, whether is it working or not, and where there are challenges, we'll need to strengthen it. The issue of unfunded budget, whereby you've indicated that you have around 9 municipalities that have adopted unfunded budget. The issue of the audit outcomes, where some municipalities have requested, and we also have others that have received disclaimer. Amongst those that have received disclaimer, we have Makana and Sunday's River, which are the repeat offenders in terms of the disclaimer. The issue of UIFW, whereby it needs to be unbundled, and then where there's a need for consequence management, it should be done. The issue of strengthening oversight and also support to municipalities. The issue of the overseas trip, where we need full details of those trips and its purpose and the cost, and the state of the municipalities that went to those trips, and whether those trips have assisted the municipality or not. And then the issue of the municipal debt, revenue enhancement strategy, including the debt of provincial and national government, where you also need to get a plan that is realistic so that municipalities can be able to operate, because we know that government is also one of the biggest clients of local government. So if they are not paying, or if there are issues, there's a need for mediation process as soon as possible so that we can start paying those that we owe. And then the last issue that will also spoke about is the issue of the disaster, which was highlighted not deeply, which also need intervention of both national and provincial government, because it's been happening in the municipalities and it's result to issues of the environmental health in our municipalities. Before we wrap up our discussion, I will then give to the chairperson of the committee to make his remarks, and after his remarks, we'll then go to a tea break, which will take 10 minutes. We must be back by 22:12, so that we can then deal with our first municipality. Chair.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Greetings to Acting Speaker, MECs, members of the legislature, chairpersons, municipalities, of course, my colleagues in the joint committees. And thanks for moving on the way you have. I'm covered largely by the summary you've made in terms of areas for action. I just want to pick up one or two issues which I think the MECs should focus a bit. There's an issue here about third-party payments that the MEC has promised to give to us. And seeing that we're going to finish with their session, we're going to actually ask that it should be provided then in writing, maybe once the MEC is here. The second issue relates to a point we have raised about actions taken to deal with the disclaimers and other adverse audit outcomes. If you look at Sunday's River and Makana, and you go back 4 or 5 years, they've actually had disclaimers. They no longer qualify to be seen only as a problem of the municipalities. It is now a problem of the provincial government that is unable to take them out. Now, if that is the case, the question which we need to know is, we want to know concretely, what are you doing there? What have you done? Because from where we sit, continuous disclaimers of that nature do not suggest that, well, they're indicating that you've not been successful. Now look at your report. Your report is saying you actually expect them to be disclaimers next year. And you've also then said, you answered the question, what do you want to do on those where there's no improvement? Then you moved over to section 216, and something in between is missing. What were you doing in between? Did you investigate? Did you get cooperation? Did you act? Now, as you were commenting, it sounds like there are things that you have done, but it's not quite clear what effect that those have been to. So I think we need more concrete information there. What have you been doing? What are you going to do? And is really the problem only in the municipalities, or is it now with your departments at this point? And I'm raising that because, again, in a very quiet way, MEC for COGTA, you are indicating that sometimes you get resistance in certain things. Now, you're not quite open with us. Where did you get the resistance? So can you actually table for us Section 106 interventions that you have done and tell us the relative success rate of those, so that you must be able to tell us where you found the resistance, because that's where we're interested. You know, the first question that was raised by Honorable Mteto was talking about the issue of the economy. Now, we've discussed it in different ways. I think the Honorable Tuba raised the issue. But between us, what we can agree amongst ourselves is that the best contribution you can make in the improvement of the economy is to give the municipalities good governance. That's how the best way you can actually improve your investment opportunities. Now, if you are saying you are having difficulties in investigating in the metro, they are reluctant to open up and deal with some of the overgreen contracts. We want to know which ones are those and what action, and really who is resisting. Let's be concrete now, because at the end, when we sit here, we are interested in, did you take the necessary action? And if you didn't, these members here from the legislature are coming to listen to that, because they are the ones who must then go into the legislature and discuss the issue of MECs who are not playing their role in the oversight of municipalities. So that is really where we would like you to focus and give us something much more concrete. So you will give us a rather detailed catalogue of your actions on Section 106, where you have done action and where people have not cooperated. We also want to know, when they failed to cooperate, what was your action? And that's really where we're going. And so, in addition to this summary, therefore, please, let's deal with that aspect. And in the process, I'd say, Chairperson, this has triggered some interesting conversation between the two, which I think this committee is going to benefit from. So you please give them an opportunity to tell us, now that they've been discussing this issue, they've not really been open to us, so they're going to tell us a little bit more now about it. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you. Yeah, we're supposed to go for tea break, I think, but because there's this matter that needs to be addressed, we'll then allow the MECs to take us through on the issue of resistance, in terms of the intervention, in terms of the UIFW. Which municipalities are you getting resistance, and what are the underlying issues, and how best are you planning to deal with the situation?
As I've said, Chair, that evergreen contracts, the bulk of our irregular is in the two metros. That's where the resistance is, not with the political leadership. Is behind the scenes, we may not know, but officials there are a scrum against those contracts. And there's a network there that is linked to external, wherein if you tamper with those contracts, external service providers make it difficult for you to move in terms of unbundling those evergreen contracts. So it's a network that needs to be dealt with. And I'm saying then, Chair, we may need not COGTA alone, we may need the crime investigations to be part of this process so that you're able to deal with this problem. It's not a small problem. It's a big problem that has to be dealt with both in Buffalo City and Nelson Mandela Metro. Small municipalities, that's where I'm saying we have been able to deal with it ourselves with Treasury. But the scrums are in the two. That's where there's resistance. And we may need to focus and break that so that that irregular expenditure can be cleared and the municipalities can actually comply with the Constitution in terms of 216 of the investigation. But I appreciate the comments of the Chair. We will then be able to send you reports about 106 investigations and whether there's resistance or not. We just had resistance in Hlonhlo municipality in terms of 106, where they were refusing us to investigate. But we're assertive, we forced ourselves, we are currently investigating in Hlonhlo municipality. That's the municipality that was reported that there was arson, their offices burnt down and all that. So we're there currently investigating, and so we're able to deal with some of these resistance issues. Thank you.
Thank you, MEC. In addition, we would also request that you give us the names of those contractors, those service providers, the nature of work that they have been contracted for in those municipalities, and also can we please get all the details about how much have they been paid so far and what were they paid for? When did the municipality enter into agreement with those contractors? And whether is there any processes that were followed or is there any elements of illegality on those contracts? We will also be glad if we could get that information. Colleagues, we can now go to a tea break. And we need to be back by 1:45. Thank you. Sherin, can you please flag the presentation? We're doing Nelson Mandela. We have this one. That's why the one that I'm saying we should flag it. Isn't it this one? On Google. You don't have it. The project is not working. Is your laptop not connected? So let us give you 5 minutes to sort it out. No, there was a presentation that was flagged. The one of Sligo was flagged. Yes. So yours can be flagged. Colleagues, we'll start at 12 o'clock. We just want to deal with the technicalities in terms of the presentation. So at 12 o'clock, we'll start with your presentation. For now, we'll just allow our support staff to assist us with dealing with the technicalities. Thank you, colleagues. We will now give the Nelson Mandela Bay municipalities to give us a brief presentation on what was sent to them and also including the state of their municipality. You have 10 minutes. Firstly, I will give you 2 minutes for free to introduce yourself, and then you'll have 10 minutes for the presentation.
Thank you very much, Chair. Let me greet you this, it's still morning. This morning, I am Councillor Baba Lobishe, serving as an executive mayor in the Nelson Mandela Bay municipality. And next to me, on my left, is Advocate Lonwabo Ngoko, who's the COO, acting currently as the city manager. Next to Mr. Ngoko is our CFO, Mr. Ngelwane. And on my right, our speaker is seated here. She has just gone to drop some water outside. So she is part of the delegation. So without wasting time, I am not going to make a preamble so as to save time, but we are open to responding to questions, including all the others that might have been mentioned in our presence. So we are willing to clarify matters, because in some areas there are different facts that we can put on the table so as to clear the picture of our municipality. Thank you very much. Over to you, Advocate.
I prefer to stand, Chair, so that I can see what is being flagged there, so that I can talk over it. Honorable Chair, I'm Rona Bongopo from Nelson Mandela Metro, and I would say all protocol observed. I don't want to waste time. 10 minutes is too little. This is our profile of the city. As per Stats 2022, and the presentation we have circulated to the committee so they can see what is there. The summary of service delivery and governance. We've got senior management level. Our city manager is on suspension. We've got 4 positions that are filled. I'm one of those as from the 1st of October. And then we've got a challenge on the staff regulation, which minimize our ADs to be only 6. And then on water issues, we've got high water and electricity losses. Our informal settlements have moved from 156 to 164 currently, which we have to service them. That's another challenge. Vandalism and theft is an issue. And also over 750 kilometers of gravel road network needs to be upgraded. We've got issue also on housing backlog. The intervention that we need as a municipality, I'm happy to say, Chair, that with this we as a council approved 3 metro trading services, which was on water and sanitation and the solid waste and electricity and energy, as were assisted by National Treasury. On the governance issues, we've got a solid political structure of 119 councillors. We've got 1 challenge with a national party, not National Alliance, which they've got also a problem with their candidate. There's an executive mayor, as I said, 120. We've got 60 wards and 60 on PR. 13 political parties are present in the municipal council. The council composition is the ANC, the DA, the EFF, UDM, Patriotic Alliance, African Independent Congress, African Christian Democratic Party, Abantu Integrity Movement, Defenders of the People, Good Party, National Alliance, Pan-Africanist Congress of Azania, and Freedom Front. We've got oversight structures, which are in extent Section 79 committees. We've got the Municipal Public Accounts Committee, the Rules and Ethics Committee, Audit Committee, Risk and Management Committee, and portfolio committees are effective and efficient, all these committees, and also the Mayoral Committee with ward committee system. That is the structure on council and of the MMCs that are currently present. And in administration, as I indicated, 4 positions are filled: the COO, the CFO, the corporate services and human settlement are filled, but we've got a challenge on the other 2, which are coming to council on the 14th of October. The report is ready, and we've got 4 senior management positions which are affected by the staff regulations, which are indicated there. And the top management, there is a vacancy rate of 64%, on the senior management 26%, on the middle management 12%. That is the current structure that is in existence in terms of administration. And we've got, in terms of the minimum competency levels, those are the ones that have been completed. Those are still attending, not yet completed. There's a vacancy in the EDs, which is people reporting directly to the city manager. No, it's a repetition, this one. Can you move? And on public participation approach, and then we've got, they are residing within the office of the speaker, who is responsible for all the communications, including ward committee system, which is there. We are performing that function very well. Move. On the governance framework, we've got, as I said, that in terms of the delegation framework of the municipality, it's in place, and also we've got the SDP, as usual as any other municipalities. We've got the The city has a complaint management protocol, and then we also on the annual basis do the satisfaction survey for all our citizens. And then we've got the DTM model which is in place, which the political champion is the mayor, and then there's a minister in the presidency who is also a champion. Can we move? And then our audit outcomes as a municipality, it's a qualified audit opinion for 2023-2024. And the issues that were raised is in property, plant and equipment, and the issue of the rehabilitation of the South Coast River, and the issue of the debt impairment, and the reinstatement on the correspondence figures, which are the matters of instance, and also the material loss on water and electricity, and the spending of the constitutional grants. The interventions to address our audit outcomes, with the municipality, we receive a qualified audit opinion as indicated. The municipality has established a clean audit committee, which management is sitting there, chaired by the acting city manager. Also, we've got the municipality has further developed the audit action plan, which is also responsive to the issues that were raised in 2023-2024 financial year. We also got progress to implement the audit action plan. We report to EXTO, to MPEC, and the Mineral Committee on all other issues that are ancillary to that. Thank you. Now I'm going to this slide. I want the committee to view us through this slide. This is the mirror of how we measure ourselves as a municipality. This slide I inherited from National Treasury. For me, it keeps us motivated in terms of improving the services of the municipality. On the service delivery, it was indicated that the distress, because there are a number of challenges that we are facing, ranging from water losses and also for electricity losses, and we've got the interventions that we've put in place. On financial governance is sound. On the institutional decline is declined. The reason for that is that we haven't resolved the issue of the accounting officer. So that's why we are redoing that, and the financial health is sound. Can you move? I'm going to hand over to the CFO to take us through on the financial situation of the municipality.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, Chairperson and committee members. Jackson Nelwane is my name. I'm not going to try to respond directly to the questions that were asked, Chairperson, but firstly to confirm that as a municipality, we do not owe Auditor General any money. We do service their account as much as possible. You won't find us owing ESCOM. We service those accounts as much as possible. These slides, Chairperson, respond, and also the approval of an unfunded budget does not happen at the Nelson Mandela. Whenever we've got problems, we try to address the problems. We summarize here in a snapshot as to what key financial ratios that we look at. We look at them historically, we look at them on a monthly basis. So just to check your cost coverage at the end of a financial year, how many months should you have been, how many months you are. Yes, the issue of a collection rate and the poor collection rate is a problem in the city. I think in the last financial year, we were about 73%, yes, in terms of the billed revenue that we have been able to collect. In terms of the cash flow, we do look after the little resources that we have. Every day we will look at our banks and we reconcile our banks in terms of investment portfolio. You will find us showing the cash flow as to what has it been on a monthly basis, on a daily basis. What was it at the end of the financial year? And we see a drop. We analyze as to why there's a drop. But if there's a drop in a collection rate, you're going to have a problem in terms of your cash flow. And yes, we are the ratios that we were talking about, all of them are here indicating as to what were they starting from 2016-17 up to 2024-25. But bearing in mind that 2024-25 is currently being audited, whatever we see there in 2024-25 may change as we finalize the audit of the financial statements. The problem, Chairperson, of the area debt is the problem of the city. If we look at it here, we analyze it from a June 2024 to a June 2025, it shows you what who is owing whom to the city in terms of the money. We can even explain and tell you how much are government departments owing the city. 208 million rand was owed at 30 June 2025. Communities out of the residential properties, out of the 18.5 billion rand, 50% of that is owed by the residential properties. There is a history behind it as well, because that area, as a city, we are a drought-stricken area. From around 2020, 2021, we implemented what is called punitive water tariff. It is through that punitive water tariff where there has been escalating area debt. You will hear or find or get a report that says council somewhere this year approved a write-off of an amount of money. It was because of the punitive water tariff, its impact when it comes to the residential properties. You will also find that we had settlement arrangements that we promoted for July, August, September. It was to assist those who are unable to pay to come forward. We settle their accounts through discount schemes that we're giving. So that's the picture, and it's a history of what our collection rate has been. The impact of the COVID pandemic also made a difference when it comes to that collection rate, Chairperson. So yes, it is not that we are demonstrating this, but we don't have strategies to improve the situation. Various strategies are there. We implement the credit control. We have got various strategies as listed there. The other one that we have been doing, we have participated in an RT tender for National Treasury where we appointed 4 debt collectors for the city. They are starting their work from the 1st of October this year to assist the city in the collection. The other big thing, Chairperson, that the committee must be aware of is what we call underfunded mandates. We carry a burden, and the ratepayers carry a burden to carry a service of library service as one of the examples of underfunded mandates, and which, if it can be assisted.
My apologies, Ntata, sorry to interject. It seems like members do not have this presentation. It's different from the one that was sent to us. Is it possible that you can just send it to, do you have it, Chair? Is it busy? Do we have? Number 34. 34. Is it possible that you can just send it to Sherin and then she will just circulate it to us?
We can email Chairperson right now if
okay, thank you.
Requires to be emailed.
Just can we please just pause for just 2 minutes? I just want to set this thing out. Thanks. The one from the link. Okay. Thank you, Ntate. Members, is the one that is on the agenda. The last part of the agenda, the Google links. You can check it on that link. On slide number 34. On the agenda, electronic agenda, on the last part there's a Google link. You just click that link, it will take you to the presentation. Yeah, you can proceed. Thank you,
Thank you, Chairperson. So that is the continuation of what we call unfunded mandates. And yes, we do have problems with certain services that are supposed to be revenue generating for the city, generating that revenue. I think that's a problem that we are experiencing across municipalities. That's why Mr. Advocate Ngoko was talking about trading services reform. One of our problems is in electricity and energy. where what we should be generating as a profit, we are unable because of various reasons that include losses that we are fighting against and so on. So that's a slide that shows, and yes, Chairperson, I mean, the UIFW has been explained repeatedly that we are in the situation where we have got 20 plus billion rand of UIFW. It was 22 billion rand at 30 June 2024, last audited financial year. And yes, strategies that we are working on around to avert that situation, preparing items to the MPEC committees, ensuring that the things of the evergreen consultants or contractors are the thing of the past is what we are working on. Also be critical on the deviations. There cannot be deviations that are repeatedly for the same contract or to reappoint and appoint a service provider on a deviation basis. So those are the things that we are working on to reduce that irregular expenditure. Looking at the last audited financial year and going back in terms of the motivations. As we stand or sit here, we've got about items that are worth 3.5 billion rand of the UIFW that are on their way to the MPEC committee for them to be discussed and be recommended by that committee. That's where the finances, Chairperson, are going to be ending at. The following slides are talking to service delivery. Thanks.
Chair, on the service delivery, it's what I indicated earlier, but I'm going to go through the slides. On water and sanitation, we have sorry.
You started at 12, you are now at 40 minutes from 12, so I will just give you 3 minutes to wrap up.
All right. Now, in summary, Chair, we prepared the slides on water and sanitation, things that we're going to do, and on landfill side that we need intervention, on also on roads and transport, and also on the provision of water, the aging infrastructure being the main. On human settlement, we got court challenges that we're currently wrapping up in court, in particular for the expenditure that we are currently sitting with. We applied for a rollover on some of the issues that are presented here, Chair. So in total, Chair, I will pause there without wasting your 3 minutes and allow for questioning.
Thank you. I will now allow members to contribute in terms of clarity-seeking questions and also inputs. Although I'm not yet convinced that your presentation touched on the list of questions that were sent to you, but I will then give to members. We'll start with Honorable Mtetwa. You have 5 minutes each.
Okay, thank you. I had jotted my own questions that I needed to raise based on the exercise we are doing of clean audits. I've noticed and observed the following, that there is a discord between the template and the tools that we are using to evaluate the performance of municipalities with the service delivery program of municipalities. As a result, municipalities, especially I was at the local government conference last week, where municipalities in the Western Cape, they performed well in terms of clean audit. But I am in Western Cape. When I go to black communities, the report I'm getting about the municipalities of Western Cape is different from the reality on the ground. That's the discord I'm talking about. So as a result, as we sit here, we look at the numbers, we look at the reporting. Reporting does not equals to service delivery, does not equals to proper services that we are claiming. That's why then I need to make it straight from here that we then need another intervention or tool, that we need to ensure that whatever is reported on paper
can be juxtaposed with a service delivery tool showcasing the reality on the ground, because Western Cape, as far as I'm concerned, is fooling us, if I can use that term. Why? Go to Khayelitsha, go to Nyanga, all the black township and the colored townships. The service delivery is almost zero. Shacks for 24 years, I know, have been there as a permanent feature. How do you then justify that this is a clean audit? So clean audit for me is a staged paper trail service delivery check which has nothing to do with service delivery. So people can fool you by giving you actually clean audit because it's based on the template generated through an ICT process. But you cannot fool us on the ground that there is spillages, there is lack of service delivery in terms of water, housing, and all of those things. And that is the area that I'm interested in. Another point, in terms of strategic planning, when we do strategic planning, you find municipalities, there's no link between this clean audit and the strategic implementation of improving service delivery. That's why you find that service delivery remains the same. And then going forward to the issue of ownership patterns, you find that the system you are using, we inherited it from the white old order regime. For 31 years, we are using the same system. And this system... Yes, thank you. The system of local government has been inherited from the old order, from 94. And we did nothing to improve it towards the direction of onboarding the 92% population of this country, which is black people. So when we're designing this local government system, it was designed to service 8% population during the white minority order. Now you have 92% population which must be onboarded on the same system. The system is not stretching, but what it is doing is shrinking and is allowing that service delivery will fall in the cracks. That's why you have actually unfunded mandates of service delivery budget. Why? You have 92% that has been onboarded into the same system, but you expect the same municipality to perform to the maximum. So that's why you have a problem where you find there are others who come here and say, we were doing well during our time, and you guys are failing. But what is omitted in that is that the 92% was never, we were not getting water during our time as black people. We're not getting all the services that the municipalities are giving now. But then I look at the economic share, the economy that is circulating in the same municipality, it is not spilling over to the 92% population. So that is telling you this is the misnomer that we find ourselves. Let me bring another point about if you can do an audit.
Honorable Mpetwa, as you wrap up, you are left with 30 seconds.
We must audit the companies that are servicing these municipalities. Check in terms of racial classification. Who are they? It is the same people who are feasting on the fiscals of the same municipalities, but then they are not actually willing to share the economy. Economy must be disaggregated according to demographic racial classification. Once it is equivalent, then we can be able to talk about the economic share. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. The municipality has progressed from an unqualified to a qualified audit opinion. Part of the MIs that were mentioned or that were highlighted by AG is the issue of your non-current assets, your non-current liabilities, your operational costs and weak financial controls. And also it was highlighted that you have poor accounting records. Really, this is not an expectation from a metro to have poor accounting records. Your team, CFO, they don't keep records. I'm not sure what they expect, what they are doing there if they are not keeping records, because they need records when AG comes in. So your team is not keeping records. And it's one of the MIs that is qualifying the municipality, that the teams are not keeping records, number one. Number two, Chair, I saw that you're saying there you have a functional impact. I'm not sure how you say you have a functional impact if also in the presentation you don't have investigations. Do you have investigations? Do we have reports of investigations that you have conducted by MPEC? Do we have write-off on the amounts of irregular expenditure? And you are sitting with about 22 billion on unauthorized expenditure. That's a big amount. And that's majority of the irregular expenditure in the province is sitting with the metro. So really, I don't know how to justify that. And the amount is escalating instead of going down. And Chair, and also City Manager, you have a responsibility in terms of MFMA to prevent irregular expenditure from occurring. You have a responsibility to prevent it, let alone to follow it, even if it happens. You have a responsibility to not have it as an accounting officer. So what is it that you are doing to prevent it from happening? And your debt collection, you take so much. It's about 66 days. That's a lot. That's a lot. And also your creditors collection, it's over 90 days. You are incurring interest that are wasteful expenditure at the end. So why are you taking so much? Why are you taking so long to pay your creditors? What is it that you are doing to correct this? And also, your internal controls are not in place. They are not strong. From the comments from AG, you don't have strong internal controls. You have an internal audit unit that has not been reviewed in the past 5 years. And as per the Act, it's supposed to be reviewed, whether it's fit, is it doing the proper job there? Are we just having an internal audit unit? And also the stage of completion of some of the projects of the internal audit unit, it's less than 100%. So how are we going to have proper audit results at the end of the period if the internal audit unit is not fully functional? Also, on the last two, you have water losses that are sitting at almost 50%. This is a crime to humanity. This is spitting to the faces of South Africans. In this province, you are losing almost 50% of water when there are people who still go to the rivers and are drinking with animals. When there are people who still go miles to get water, but the municipality is losing almost half of the water that is to be supplying. And also on electricity, you are losing almost 30%. There are people who have been without electricity almost 30 years into democracy, but you are losing so many percent on electricity. We are supposed to be actually reporting that there's more people that are getting in the grid. Instead, you are losing the one that you are supposed to be providing. And that is really not a good picture at this time of the year, at this time of democracy. As I close, Chair, I want to also mention the fact that I picked up that, okay, the COO was just appointed when? On the 1st of this month. 1st of this month. That is 6 days ago, eh? So, okay. Unfortunately, we are dealing with prior year, right? But coincidentally, just before the committee arrives, then you are appointed. So I'm not sure if you are correcting it just because the committee was about to come. I'm not sure, but we are going to the right direction. And you cannot operate with such important and such strategic level of management with vacancies in such strategic management of your leadership. Thank you.
As you wrap up.
Thank you, Chair. I will just ask a few questions. I've been covered with a couple of them by the two colleagues. I think my main concern, really, without getting into details as well, I just find that we are really pinned on the reactive rather than the proactive side of your initiatives. In response, the response then gets very poor because we are really reactive more than being proactive. And maybe the next point, Chair, for me is that when you look at I didn't hear much elaboration or much more clarity in terms of the corruption quantification, because we know that the place is dripping with corruption, like other places. And when I heard that there is a scrum, there's this corruption, and I think that the committee needs to know, have a little bit of understanding, clarification of the corruption. We have not unpacked the corruption. We know that is there, and I think the municipality or the city must know at what point do you say, this is what you can handle, this is what now is criminal. There are the Mandlanga commissions now, although it was not there before, but you can't just say, yes, there is this problem of syndicates and mafia-style syndicates. So really, if we can just help us there, because you cannot say it's zero. And then the Eastern Cape is one of the provinces with the highest proliferation of traditional leaders. I have not seen one line or heard one line talking about how do you collaborate with the traditional leaders in actually just addressing as a partnership these issues of service delivery. There's the highest presence of traditional leaders here. Please help us. What are the initiatives that you have of working with traditional leaders in terms of service delivery? Thank you, Chair.
No, thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much, Chair. My first question would be, can you expatiate on the statement made by the MEC as far as evergreen contracts are concerned, and give a proper breakdown so that we can be able to understand, because it could be easy to accuse them if you don't tell us that this one is 2020, that one is 2018, so that we can get a proper reflection in terms of what is it that we're talking about. Number two, on the issue of your deviation in transactions. First, Mayor, in your capacity as an executive authority, what are you saying in relation to deviations? When transactions are done through deviations, is there no malfeasance from your eyes when you look at that? And thirdly is I would be interested, perhaps I would be talking to the city manager, but I know that there is none here. What is it that keeps you awake at night, Executive Mayor, there in Nelson Mandela? If there is none, I would like to hear, and then I would ask why. As well as CFO, what is it that keep you awake at night there in Nelson Mandela? Can you also shed light on your recent departures of your senior managers? And then look at what is your contribution in relation to disinvestment in Nelson Mandela, because there is, and we can speak statistics if that comes to a push. Looking at the contribution of agriculture, in the Eastern Cape, it's less than 3%. There are no mines in the Eastern Cape. What's your view in relation to make agriculture as central in terms of the economic spin-offs in that area? And the last one, the shenanigans of the deputy mayor. Can you shed light? There are monies that allegedly he is in court using monies of public monies willy-nilly. Can you shed light on that? Thank you.
Thank you. May I please allow the municipalities to respond to the questions that have been asked?
Thank you. Let me start with the last questions. I think on disinvestment in Nelson Mandela, it would really be incorrect for me to agree that there's disinvestment in Nelson Mandela. When we know Goodyear has left, and it's the only company that we know has disinvested in the city. And it's not matters or factors attributed to the city not being run well. It's a matter of the dumping policy of the country. We met with their leadership, and they did confirm that they've been downsizing the plant for the past 15 years. And up to now, there is nothing that they can do to save the situation because of our national policies that allow other countries to bring their goods at a lesser price, and there's nothing they can do. And even on that particular aspect of investment, Aspen has expanded its plant in the Nelson Mandela under the same leadership of ours. Shutterproof, we've just been part of their launch on expansion, as well as Isuzu is also bringing a new unit under our leadership. So to agree on disinvestment would really be misinforming Parliament. And as well, how we interface with businesses. It's just a pity that the MEC has left of finance, because I wanted to clarify an issue that we have a live relationship with the business chamber of the municipality that has members of above 120 members of businesses that are affiliated under business chamber. So we, time and again, when there are service delivery issues affecting the plans, we interface on our quarterly sessions with the business chamber, and we address those issues promptly. We also have work streams that we are working on with the business chamber on energy, and as well the other one on retention of the investment in the city. So I'm quite confident to stand in Parliament to say there is no issue that we know of that we are not agile in attending to when it comes to service delivery matters. What has been raised by Isuzu on the issue of robots, it's one of the national ills of vandalism, because we install robots, they are taken away. We install, but we never tire and say we are not going to fix them because they are stolen. And we are going to continue to make sure. We are looking at putting the solar ones next to these critical points, because in Stanford Road we did so. They are still intact, the solar robots. So it's a matter which I wanted to clarify in the House. It's just a pity that the MEC has left. The other question was on the evergreen contracts. In the city, we are trying to bring on the council meeting of the 12th of January. I, as the executive mayor, has informed council that we are not going to accept extension of contracts as a report that has already taken place. Because in terms of Section 56 of the MFMA, it is supposed to be reasonable basis, done on reasonable basis. And when those reasonable bases are done, council should be informed before the municipal manager extends the contract beyond its set time. And as well, it then impedes the deviation impedes competition fairness on tendering system. So we have told council that this is no longer going to happen. As a result, we were waiting for supply chain to bring, and the CFO to bring a comprehensive report on the reports of the last financial year. on what we have deviated on extending contracts without following a due process. So this is the position I have taken as the executive mayor to safeguard